welcome back, part 2 here. Now we're going to do the core. It's pretty much the same thing. You got to pay attention to the same special things on the bottom of the door to make sure you get everything right, because there is definitely a reveal down here as well. Okay, so first things you're going to do, if you happen to get a new door like I did, there's these spacers all the way around these things. You're going to want to definitely keep those. That'll give you an idea how far away everything's supposed to sit. Otherwise, just take some measurements of the way things are now, so you can make the adjustments that you need to make along the way. There's another one over here. It's the same size as that one, so and it looks to be about, I don't know, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch. So those are going to be my sides. I have this one. This one here is glued in, so I'm just going to leave that one. That's for the bottom threshold. And the top don't have one, so, but that looks like a good 1/2 inch, possibly 3/4. So, all right. Now we already know that the door opening on the frame, and you can grab it just to reassure yourself. You should know what the opening is. Grab a tape measure. I believe it was 54-ish. I remember it was a little low. Measure from the back, because that's what. 54. So 54 inches is going to be your base line. That's going to be the length of the opening. Okay, so you're going to keep those. We're going to keep that on the bottom. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to grab a drill. And again, number 2 star bit. And you're going to remove the bottom threshold. There's 4 screws on the side, just like the last one. The frame threshold. So you're just going to pull these 4 screws out. 2 on this side. 2 on this side. Some of these doors are glued together better than others. Sometimes it just slips right off. Sometimes you really got to fight with them. Fortunately, it slips right off. I don't see any glue or adhesive, which is kind of scary. Mine will. Again, there's a recess down here at the bottom. The one on the frame was 1/2 inch, I believe it was. Yes, 1/2 inch. And this one is going to be a whopping 1.25 inches. So I'm going to do what I did last time. I wrote it right here, just so I don't forget. That's the offset that we need. Now what you're going to do, go ahead and get this out of your way. The whole idea for me is not to scratch this door, because I want to use it. Put the file on the other side. Very light now that the frame is gone. Now the door's dirty. Needs a little love, but we'll get her looking good. Next thing you're going to do, let me show you. There's that spacer on the bottom. They have it glued there. And I need it to stay there anyway, so I'm just going to leave it be. Okay, at this point in time, we're about to find out how well they glued this thing. Like I said, I've had to fight with them, and I've had others just come right apart. Hopefully, this will come apart relatively easy. I do expect there to be some glue, not like the sides though, or the bottom. And there is definitely some adhesive, but I'm not even seeing caulking here. Usually, there is. Okay, so that's when you're going to grab 5-in-1 tool. Now make sure if you're using a putty knife or a 5-in-1 tool, it does not have burrs on it or anything, especially if you're using a Filon. The last thing you want to do is scratch the door or the Filon and make your life hell. This is gonna fight me. So, in the meantime, what I'm doing here is I'm just putting that 5-in-1 tool underneath that, pushing it all the way back up against the back edge here, as far as I can get it on that edge, and just kind of working yourself around. Now, I also have this tool. Oh, you can see it fine. I also have this tool to pick this up, do an RV repair. I don't even remember where I got it or how much I paid for it. But it won't scratch the firearm, so that's my favorite tool when it comes to the harder stuff. But what you want to do is you want to work all the way around and try to free that up, both sides if you need to. And then when you free it up, I'll show you how it comes apart. Okay, so what I ended up doing is that I ended up taking this 5-in-1 tool. This is what ended up working. This one fought me. Take 5-in-1 tool, push it in here to break the seal instead of going like this alongside of it to make it all dangerous. So just give it a push. And what do you know? Came right out. So at that point in time, you just go ahead and separator and remove the core from the door frame. Be careful still, don't want to scratch your file on if you can prevent it. Or whatever your finish is. I just thought of something. A lot of you guys are probably wondering, why did I take the core out of the door? When you cut this door down, what's going to happen, you're going to cut it around here. What's going to happen is your door handle is going to be real low on the door. Is it a problem? Can be. A lot of times these doors have a kind of a camber in them, so if you can get them in the center of the door, that's your best bet. So bringing the core back out, set that here. This is your door. You're going to cut, ballpark, on a normal teardrop, this much of the door. Okay? So look where that places your handle, down at the bottom. Another reason why I don't buy, or try not to buy, doors with windows in them, because this is a lot harder to do, because you can't do what I'm about to show you. Now we're going to set the door flat, and we're going to bring the trim on top. Right in here. So you can adjust that up or down, whatever. Once you get your frame cut, you can adjust that up or down to make sure that this is right in the center, right where you want it. So even pressure on the top, even pressure on the bottom. You have to make a new hole for the latch, but that's not a hard thing to do. Hope that explains things a little bit. Now, or with every door that I've done so far is Nylon, styrofoam, and like a plastic, textured plastic, what reminds me of a shower board. So even if you had to make a new core, I don't know, I've never done it. I don't think it would be too hard, because you're already going to have the Phylon from cutting the door out of the Phylon that you're skinning with, or aluminum, or whatever. And this, I'm pretty sure you can get this almost anywhere. So, just my thoughts. When you go to do your other door, you have to reverse the swing. What you're going to do is you're going to take the core, actually, you're going to take it out of the door, and you're going to flip it upside down. centering it in the door just like you did on the other side. So your handle's right in the middle. That way you don't have to make a new core. You can use the core. Just got to trace your new pattern on the top, cut it with a jigsaw, slip it back in. All said and done. Well, now that you know your frame fits, go ahead and take your threshold back off, take the frame of your door, and set it back in. Without the core. Okay? Simple. I bent this frame a little bit, no big deal, it's aluminum, it's soft, it bends back. Now what you're going to do is you're going to grab your pencil, you're going to make sure it's seated at the top evenly, so there's an even gap at the top. You don't want it sitting in there rocking sideways. You're just going to take a square, square off the same edge, and the reason why I know this is because I referenced the other door, and make a line. Then you're going to go ahead, you're going to cut that right there. And then from there, remember that 1.25 inch recess that was on here, you're going to make that here, 1.25 inch, same as down here. Then, what I do is I'll slip the core up, adjust the handle where you want it, put the threshold back on here, take some measurements, and cut your core. Slip your core, clean this edge up, put some RV silicone on it, that's what I use. I goop it on real good, I slide it back in there, and I do what I gotta do. It's pretty simple. All you have to do is cut your new hole for your latch and you're good to go. I mean, if you really wanted to, you could slide it in there. Once you get your door all cut, you could mark your hole, pull your core back out, cut your hole, and then put your core back in permanently. But definitely clean this up, make sure. I always glue 10 times more than what I have to, because I always do a temporary dry fit with the latch, everything in place to make sure everything latches, the locks lock, everything does before I do the final installation. I'd rather have the problem now when it's easy to adjust than have to make 20,000 different holes in the side of the camper. Plan now, do it now, save you the trouble later. And what you're going to do is you're going to bring it back from the saw, put it back in the frame, the mounting frame. Looks good, looks good. Here's a threshold for the door itself. It sits flush with the bottom. And there you have it. All that's left to do is take and mount the threshold back on it. Okay? Now to do that, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to notch it just like you did, remember, 1.25 inch, like we did for this one. 1.25 inch back. Drill your holes just like you did. You can use the pencil again and make your holes and drill your holes, and then you're ready to cut your core down. I'll show you how that works next. Next step, put your core back on the table. What you're going to do next is you're going to take your black door frame or your core frame, the one you had to separate from your core, and assemble it like I have here and put it on top. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take a tape measure. You're going to measure from here, where it stops, up there. It's going to be 53 inches on this door. Your measurement will be different. Okay, so you're going to split that in half. What is it, 26 and a half? Yeah, 26 and a half. So then you're going to take and measure 26 and a half. be right here. Put a square up. I've already done this. And chalk you a line. Then what you're going to do is you're going to find the center of this hole. You're going to move this frame up and down until the center of that hole is on that line. Pretty simple. Then you take a pencil, mark the bottom, mark the top, take the frame away, and you now know where you got to cut. There's a line here. There's a line here. Now I'm going to get out a square, square it off, make sure everything's good and square. And I'm going to go ahead and cut it. And then I'm going to take the top portion of this door that I cut off, and I'm going to slide it down off this line a little bit and use that as a template for the radius. And I've just cut the bottom part of the door off and it's done. If that's a little long, then that's fine. We can slip it back in the frame, find out where it is long, make a line, chalk a line, draw a line, put a square on, square off a line, whatever way you want to do it. Mark your line, make it cut. Pretty simple. Not that hard at all. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. What I usually do is I will take some painter's tape and stick it on the bottom of my jigsaw so I don't scratch the file on aluminum, whatever your core happens to be. Now on the hinge side of these doors, past two doors I've done, it's been reinforced with steel on the edge. The first set I didn't. It wasn't like that. But this one is. So I start to cut from that side, the side that isn't reinforced with the steel, and come in so you get your nice straight line, and you've already got your nice groove going. So when you get into that metal, it helps you to stay straight. I do the same thing at the top. Now the radius can be tricky, so be careful. You got a little bit of play there in the corner, so if anything, trim it a little narrower than where it should be, so you don't get it all bound up in the corners. I've had that happen once before too, and had to take everything apart and redo it. So I'm going to go ahead and do this part, and I'll get back to you. Okay, so now I went ahead and cut it square. Now I need to take what I cut from here and make the radius at the top for the top end of the door frame. So I'm going to take line this out like this. Take me a marker, pencil, whatever you have. It's going to show up good on Finalizing, so, or on white anyway. Just make you a line. Now you're ready to go ahead and cut. Here's where it gets tricky, getting into that metal. I'll take it as far as I can get it without it bucking on me, and just taking the old better until she broke. And you've got your basic shape of the door. And we're going to flip it back around. Now I haven't cleaned this up yet. I'm going to cut the hole. I've done it for the latch. While the core isn't in it. I've done it both ways. I find it easier to do it that way. So got some work to do to the frame. Like I said, I bent it a little bit. Not a big deal. Give her a little love and she'll be back to normal. There it is. Find a threshold for it. Looks like I'm going to have to trim a little off the bottom here because you want this flush with the bottom of the door, but other than that, they're looking pretty darn good. So, like I said, I'd rather leave it a little long and know. Try to see if it's just not cooperating. Nope. But that's okay. Trim it up a little bit and it'll be fine. That's pretty much the easiest way to do it. I keep walking over there because I think it's better view, but apparently it isn't. So that's it. I mean, trim this to where it sits flush with the bottom of the side, and you're good to go. Zip your screws back in. You take it, put it back in the frame. Mount your screws. All your screw holes should line up the same. So there's really nothing you need to do. Just put everything back together and dry fit it in the camper. We'll do that next. And get everything put back together. I'm only going to do it temporarily just because I don't want to glue it yet. I want to make sure that I get everything all squared away before I glue it, because once I glue it, there's no undoing it. The completed door looks pretty good. Now we're going to take her outside and see how well she fits. And there you have it, in the camper. I'm sorry, I'm a little cramped for space as always, but there it is. It's in. It opens, it closes. It's hard to hold the camera and open and close it. There's no screws holding nothing on right now. Opens and closes fine, fits beautifully, doesn't hang up, nothing. Good reason for you to leave that spacer on the bottom though, is because it will keep this door square at the bottom where it needs to be, so everything fits and closes and latches the way it's supposed to. So please leave it in. Then after you get the door installed, you can go ahead and remove it. Alright, hope you enjoyed it. Have a good one.